If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done. This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Granger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. And listen, you already know what it is. You've clicked on the link. You've downloaded the podcast. We are going to talk about sophomore hip hop albums, more specifically, albums that we deemed to be the best sophomore hip hop albums ever. And of course, you see, I'm not doing this podcast alone. Frequent contributor, my man. I mean, come on, he has two podcasts of his own, the Eclectic Discussion Podcast and Encyclopedia Hip Hop Podcast. None other than Eclectic. E is in the building. E, what up, man?
What's up, everybody? Black by popular demand. You know, Two Click Shakur, aka Click Armstrong, aka Pod Barker, aka Black Dempsey. Sir tweet a lot. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been too long. Listen, everyone that's listening to the show now, I know you've been waiting and debating for so long. He's had a lot of guests on here. He's done a lot of things, but
hey, man,
we know
we had to get our schedules together.
It's Christmas and spring now for everybody. What's up?
Hey, man, and you know it's funny. A couple of people hit me up. I was like, "Yo, when E coming back on?" I was like, "Man, I said we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it." I was like, "We're gonna do it." We just had to get our schedules together, but yeah, man. Anytime you guys know, anytime we talk hip hop, I got to bring people on here that know what they're talking about. And obviously, this guy, he knows just a little bit about hip hop. I mean, actually knows a lot, but I would never tell him that. So yeah, man, we're talking about the best sophomore hip hop albums, at least what we deem the best sophomore hip hop albums. We're just gonna pick 5. Now. This is our opinion, and I would venture to say, because we know a little bit about hip hop, we've been around for a while. We're not new to this. I'm going to be very interested to see how, which albums we both pick. But before we even get into that, I want to get a question from you. Explain to those who may not be familiar with what we grew up listening to, as far as when we would talk about hip hop, people would talk about the sophomore jinx. I know that people don't really talk about it now, because I mean, hell, anybody can put out an album. You could be 3 albums down before somebody even realized that, you're in your 3rd album. But talk a little bit about what the sophomore jinx was and what it was described as when we were coming up, and things of that nature.
Well, see, the sophomore jinx in plain was someone would come out, drop something really hot, really popular, really good, some quality, and then their follow-up effort wouldn't meet the standard of the previous, of the first. It wouldn't be so good. And so I guess that happened for a lot of people, or a lot of popular people or prominent people, and then they coined it as a jinx. This is how I look at it. Mm-hmm. When an artist, whether it's R&B, pop, rock, hip hop, when an artist has their first album, they've been working on and planning on that album their entire life. So that one is going to be just about everything that they got. This is everything that they thought of, everything they wrote, everything that they dreamed they could do. They're finally doing it. So it's probably going to be the best that they got. It's probably going to be really good, hopefully. And so then the second one, depending on how dope the first one is, it's a quick turnaround time. People are like, look, we gotta strike while iron's hot. We need you, like, right. And they're like, it took me 25 years to come up with that first album, and you want the other one in about 8 months,
right?
So, and then pressures to stay with what's current, or try to do something new, or do you try to continue what you did before, or do you try to flip it and come with something new? Maybe the person themselves was changed and they're not on what they were on. They might have wrote half that stuff when they were teenagers. Mm-hmm. Now they're 20 something, like, I'm not even on that no more. Mm-hmm. So that could lead to the jinx, but sometimes the jinx ends up being a blessing, meaning if they're not on the same thing, or if they do try to do something different, maybe that album is the start of something brand new for the third and fourth album for the rest of the career. I mean, if you think about it, you don't know many people who can name Michael Jackson's first or second album. And most people think it's Off the Wall and Thriller.
Right, and it's not.
And most people can't name Prince's first album, even though it's really easy to. But
The Dirty Mind, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but so it's rough, but you never know. You never know what can happen. But that's how I look at it. That's how I approach it.
No, I think that you make some great points. I think that's the thing that I wanted. The reason why I asked is because I wanted, to get that impression from you, because you're right. It was, you had all of your life to get it done. And then when you got it done, and particularly if it was any level of success.
Oh, sorry. It's for you, not Dirty Mind.
Oh, shit. I was wrong. Damn.
I said most people.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, that's how it works. So, the sophomore jinx was a real thing, and people would put out albums, especially in rap, they would put out albums and have some type of success, and then for whatever reason, maybe the fans weren't on it like they were the first album, or maybe they just weren't as good on the second album. And sometimes, maybe not so much in rap, but we saw in R&B where, let's say, the label or whomever had a lot of control over the production and the songwriting and everything like that on the first album. And then the second album comes in like, oh, I want to do it all myself. And they go left, and the fans don't really necessarily respond to it. Like I said, you didn't really have that much in rap, but it definitely happened in R&B and pop. So I'm interested to see, I'm looking at my 5 here. And I didn't put mine in any particular order. You might have, knowing how you do, but before we get started, take a guess. How many out? And we don't. I mean, for those of you listening, you guys know that we do the fantasy drafts on the Eclectic Discussion Podcast and Encyclopedia Hip Hop. So you're familiar with how we do that. So this isn't a competition between me and E, but I gotta ask you, how many albums do you think that we'll have similar in our best 5?
2.
Okay. Fair enough.
2. What do you say?
No. I say 1 and a P. 1 and a possible. Okay. 1 and a possible. Because I know one that's definitely going to be on your list. This other one, I'm not really sure, but it might be. It might be. So let's go ahead and get it started, man. Give me your first album that you would put on, if you're making a list of the 5 best sophomore albums, and tell me why you put that album on your list.
Well, this is how I approached my list.
Okay.
I didn't approach it as the best second album or what I thought were, I looked at all the second albums and said, these are the 5 best to me. What I did was I looked at the comparison from the first. So how much better or different or crazy was it compared to their first one? Because there's some people who will drop and the first album is great and the second album is great. And it's like, okay. But sometimes they'll drop and the first album might have been known and popular, but then the second one was out of here. And so those are the ones who's like, all right, we're going to pick those. Now it's a slow build. It's a slow build from 5. So 5 isn't 100% that, but it's close. Okay. And what I have is De La Soul is Dead.
Yes.
And even though 3 Feet High and Rising was critically acclaimed, and in my opinion, it's a classic, and
it is.
A lot of people liked it, but there were backlash. People was like, oh, the hippies, oh, that's a fad, or that's that and the third. So then they made their second album and said, De La Soul is dead. So that stuff is dead. And they came with a brand new everything on this album. It wasn't, the only thing that was the same were the MCs, the DJ, and they had skits. Nothing else was the same between those 2 albums. And that is why I put that one as one of the best sophomore albums.
Yeah, I agree. That one's up there for me. It didn't make my list, but it's up there. I knew that this would make your list. You're right. Of all of the albums that I think we're going to talk about, these 2 albums that you just mentioned, De La Soul is Dead and 3 Feet High and Rising, are completely different. Like, you can kind of tell where, an artist may have tried to stay on the same track, but you're right. They really revamped the whole damn thing. And I still think, man, there are a lot of people that missed the boat. So they missed the boat on 3 Feet High and Rising. And then by the time De La Soul is Dead came out, they really were like, oh, I don't understand this shit. But I mean, like, in my opinion, I think both albums are classic albums. They are time capsules that I think even when you listen to them to this day, you can still get something from it. Like, when I listen to these albums, they still sound as dope to me as they did back then. You know what? Let me go with it. The first album I'm going to pick is, and again, I didn't rank mine in any particular order, but I know this is an album that is not going to appear in your list. Let's start right here in Atlanta. AT-Aliens. This was Outkast's sophomore album, and this album was very different from what the first album was. The first album from Outkast, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, was an incredible album. I think it got like 4.5 mics, I think, in the source. But this album was, it set the tone for what Outkast were. They were B-boys from Atlanta, and they were, they had style, they had flair, and they were rapping, and they really could rap. And by the time this album comes out, sonically, it sounds so much different. Their look changed. And to be honest, like you said, some fans didn't like it. Like, they didn't like the fact that, they went from being some players on the first album to they was on some spaced out shit. That's what, a lot of people said. But I think this album is a phenomenal album. I think it's better than the first album. It definitely sold more commercially, which, doesn't mean anything, but I think when you listen to it, you can hear the growth because, to something you said a little earlier, Outkast was so young when they wrote that first album. When you hear songs like Players Ball and Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music and Get Up, Get Out, that doesn't sound like Wheels of Steel or Jazzy Bell. None of that stuff sounds the same. And then the production from Organized Noise gives them a sound phonically that makes it sound totally different from the first album as well. But I think it's a great album. I normally listen to these albums back to back when I listen to them. So yeah, I had to put this on my list as far as my best 5. So like I said, I didn't rank mine, but I knew because my friend over here is not necessarily a fan of the brothers from Atlanta. I knew that I might as well go ahead and talk about this early because he's heard only like maybe how many songs off the album you remember? Two songs off this album?
I don't honestly, the Outkast songs after Southern Playalistic, they all mesh together with me.
Okay.
And I think that goes with what you're saying. What you're saying is, so the first album, when those songs came out, 2 of my, I guess, favorite 3 or 4 songs from them are on that album. And I actually listened to what they were saying. And then once the second album came out, I was like, I don't know who this, I don't want this. And so, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've heard all the video songs and the singles.
Well, you know what you did remember, because we did a podcast last year. You did actually go back and listen to that album because you texted me. He's like, and we talked about it. So yeah, and you got props for that. You got props for that.
Yeah. They don't. I'm not their target audience. That's it.
Okay. What's your next one?
Sophomore album. So depending on how you look at this, if you want to be an ass about it, this is cheating, but it's not.
Okay.
Do You Want More by the Root? Do You Want More? Their first effort was Organics. That came out in '93. If you weren't in Europe, you probably didn't hear it until the late '90s. But I stumbled upon it at college because
and where was college?
It's where everybody's somebody. Grambling State University, ladies and gentlemen. And because I stumbled upon it in '94 because I heard Distortion and Static. And I was like, these guys are crazy. Went to my record store on campus and said, yo, I need the Roots. And they were like, we got this. And it was like a black cover. It's organic. I was like, that's not them. I don't know who that is. I was like, I don't know who that is. That's not them. I don't want that. I want the Roots. And anyway, ended up getting it. But so Do You Want More is my favorite Roots album. And I think my personal opinion is the Roots were not as dope, I'll say that way, without Malik. If any song that they had, Thought, Malik, and Dice,
shout out
it's
to Dice.
crazy. And then when it became, quote, a solo act, it's like, oh, it's okay. But anyway, Do You Want More, Proceed, Distortion and Static, I Remain Calm, Silent Treatment, The Lesson Part 1, oh my God. So you really cannot compare this to Organics. You can't. So that's where I got, that's my fourth effort.
Okay. That's a great pick, man. It's funny. I had to laugh when you said Organics because honestly, man, I think I've heard that album twice. And I want to say when I heard it, like I literally have not listened to that album probably since, I don't know, like 2000. Like it's been like, I had no reason to go back to it because I went backwards on the Roots. I didn't discover the Roots until Philadelphia Half-Life. And then I went back and heard, Do You Want More, and fell in love with that album. But so I think you're right. When Organics came out, they could have very well been in Europe. We don't even know.
They only sold it at their shows in Europe.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
That's originally that's the only way you can get it. I don't know how my campus got it in '94, but because I had a thing when I could go in there and be like, "Yo, I need this," and they get it for me somehow. But I don't know how they had it in '94, but they had it. But yeah, originally it was only sold in Europe, and then they re-released it.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's what's up, man. I had no clue. Like I said, I listened to Organics maybe twice. I can't honestly, even off the top of my head, I can't name a song except for maybe "Say What Man." I think that's on. I think the original one's on.
Say What Man is on there, and the longest posse cut in history is on there. It's 12 minutes.
Okay. And I think I heard that on a mixtape. So I don't even remember listening to that.
Past the popcorn.
Yep. But yeah, that is a great pick, man. I love this album. It's another one where I go 2 and 3 out listen to this and Illadelph Half-Life. Yeah, that's incredible sophomore album. Incredible. My next pick, kind of like you, I'm gonna cheat a little bit because this artist was a member of a group and then he left the group and then he became a solo artist and he put out a solo album. And his solo album was good, but his sophomore album was incredible. And I take that back. His solo album was his initial solo album was dope. And his sophomore album was just as dope. I'm talking about Ice Cube's The Death Certificate from 1991. I think this might be one of the blackest albums ever made. I did a review on it. This album, again, like I said, Ice Cube, he was already known. So it wasn't like, he was a new star. He'd already, been with NWA and already left the group in 1990. But he released his first album, America's Most Wanted, and then the sophomore album, The Death Certificate, which was phenomenal. Both albums, I think, were phenomenal. But this album, from everything from the album cover with Uncle Sam with the toe tag, songs like Black Korea, of course, No Vaseline, Steady Mobbin'. This was vintage Cube. This was Ice Cube when he was, one of the best MCs in the game at that time in the early 90s. This is an album that I still bump to this day, man. And I think if you're talking about sophomore albums, there was no sophomore jinx with this one. I mean, he knocked it out the park. Sonically, it sounds different from America's Most Wanted because, he wasn't, I don't know if the Bomb Squad did anything on this album. I mean, if they did, it maybe have been a couple of tracks, but they carried most of the load for the first album. And, but nah, man, this joint still bumps to me. Ice Cube's Death Certificate. Do you remember, popping this one in your tape deck?
I never bought it.
Okay.
But I listened to, I've obviously heard that. I was, after the first album, I still fucked with Cube, but I wasn't purchasing Cube.
Mm-hmm.
But that Steady Mobbin' was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And Giving Up the Nappy Dugout.
Yes.
The True to the Game video is a classic.
Yes.
Everyone knows No Vaseline. Look Who's Burning is crazy. So, some of the stuff on there wasn't for me, but great album. And you're right, it was no, even with the producer he had, there was no jinx.
Well played. I see what you did there. What's your next one?
3. Okay. This one's easy. Like I said earlier, the way I'm picking when their first album was, decent or good, but then the second album was just crazy. So the gap, the margin in between the two is what makes me pick them. So like when I went Organics and Do You Want More, most of the people that's listening to this show right now never heard Organics, but if they heard the Roots, they probably heard Do You Want More, or at least 4 or 5 songs off of it. So this one is easy. I told you it was going to ramp up. The gap is going to ramp up. The infamous Mobb Deep. Most people do not know about Juvenile Hell by Mobb Deep that came out in 1993. So The Infamous being their second album, being one of the greatest hip hop albums that came out in the 90s, has to be one of the best sophomore hip hop albums because, I mean, it took them from who's that to, it's the P.
right.
And Havoc. So, and people understand, the people that's listening to this that's never heard of Juvenile Hell, it had on production Extra P, Premier. They were on that first album. Big Noid was on Juvenile Hell.
Yep.
But none of you cared.
Nobody.
But the Infamous, and we could talk about the Infamous forever. It's one of the, like I said, it's one of the greatest hip hop albums in the 90s. Period.
Man, that album's so nice. I bought it twice. Man, I'm surprised. Well, you know what? I take that. I ain't even gonna say I'm surprised. What I'm surprised is we both have that on our list because that was my next pick.
I told you we was gonna have two, so I got one off.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, I love this album. I think Juvenile Hell. How many times? I may have heard it like 3 times. And I had the tape, and somebody stole my tape, and that's the only reason why I only listened to it like 2 or 3 times because I copped the dub off somebody, and then somebody took the tape out of my tape. I do remember I was in college at the time at South Carolina State, and so yeah, I had that. But yeah, you're right. The Infamous, man, you want to talk about a flawless album? I agree with you. Easily one of the best hip hop albums in the 90s. And what's interesting in that, and a lot of people don't know this. I mean, I know you know this, but Juvenile Hell didn't sell well. So, they almost got dropped from their label. And you're right. There's a huge, if you go back and listen to Juvenile Hell, there's a huge gap between how Mobb Deep was on that album and how they were on The Infamous.
They were dropped. They were on Juvenile Hell was on 4th and Broadway.
Oh wow. I thought it was just threatening it was getting. I did not know that. Wow.
The Infamous was on Loud
every day.
Yeah, the Infamous was on Loud. They was dropped.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, kids, if you got dropped, I mean, like getting dropped by your label is one of the worst things that you wanted to happen as a rapper.
Especially after your first album, which I just said you took your whole life to make. Like, I spent my whole life doing this. Yeah, fuck you. Get out of here.
Yeah, you only sold 11 copies. Get out of here. But yeah, there's not much more I can add to what you just said, man. That album, flawless from top to bottom. I mean, some of the, and I don't even have to get into the features on the album, but it's just an incredible. If you want to know what the 90s felt like, if you weren't around in the 90s, that was the 90s right there. That was 90s hip hop right there. Yeah, so that was I guess that would be my number 3 as well. What you got next?
Okay. One of the greatest hip hop albums ever created, but ironically, not my favorite album from this particular entity.
Okay.
And because my favorite album is actually their first one, not the sophomore one, but the sophomore is one of the greatest, and it is called It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back.
Yes.
Public Enemy's 1988, the greatest year of everything.
Facts.
Dropped after 87's Yo Bum Rush the Show, which is my favorite. But you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who doesn't like this album, even if they don't like hip hop. So they don't even. I don't listen to hip hop, and you play this, they're like, you know what? That's all right. So.
You just said a mouthful. You just said a whole mouthful, man. Of course, this made my list too.
I told you too.
Yeah, man. It is. Now, conversely, you said Yo Bum Rush the Show is your favorite album from Public Enemy. This is my favorite album from Public Enemy.
Yeah,
And that
everybody's favorite album.
yeah, man, it's
except
just
for me.
it's and you know what? Yo Bum Rush's Show is it's a phenomenal album, especially when you put in the context of when it came out and what was going on outside when it came out. And I actually ran into I had a discussion with somebody who said that they wasn't feeling it. I'm like, how do you not feel Yo Bum Rush's Show? Even though, and they were maybe a year or two older than me. So they were around, you know what I'm saying? So like, I was like, wow. So I actually had a conversation with somebody that did not like Yo Bum Rush's Show, which is bugged out because everybody around my way loved that album. But I'm with you, man. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. You know, sans for one song.
Party for Your Right to Fight.
Which I don't mind. A lot of people don't like it, but I don't mind that song. You could make a case that it is one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time.
I've heard people say that it is the.
Yeah. You get no argument from me. I don't have it there, but it is. Man, listen, it's crazy. It is a crazy album. And it was, PE in their heyday, and a lot of people didn't like the third album as much, but I love that album too. But no, this one takes a nation of millions. It's an album. This is one of those, like you mentioned, 88 albums. I don't know, man. As I've gotten older and more appreciative in hip hop, I keep going back to those 88 albums, both in hip hop and R&B.
Welcome to my world. I've been on that for the past 20 years.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I guess what I'm saying is like just days where you just in the car and you're just riding and it's like you go to you turn on something, you're like, I don't want to hear that. You turn on a podcast, you listen to a podcast for a little while, podcast goes, okay, I want to hear some music. And I'm always in that place where I listen to a pod because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And when I finish the podcast, after a while, you get tired of hearing people talk. So you're like, okay, let's put some music on. And it's never like for me, I have to put myself in the mindset, okay, let me sit and listen to this new Conway album, or let me sit and listen to this new, I don't know, Lil Fart album.
New KRS-One is a banger.
And, man, listen. And you know what? I'm glad you said that because you of all people should have told me. I had to see your Twitter to realize that I didn't even know he had an album coming out.
Well, since you saw it on my Twitter, I did tell you.
Yeah, that's when I found out because nobody else knew. So I got to go back, and I did have it written down for me to go back and listen to that. But yeah, I've heard great things about that album, even outside of the stuff that you tweeted about. But yeah, man, I'm just I like what I like, and I love what I love. So and it's not. I'm not saying that I don't have room to listen to other stuff, but I find myself a lot of times, when the podcasts go off and it's time to listen to something, I go back to those 88 albums, both in hip hop and R&B. I'm interested to see what your last one is, number 5.
Don't you? Oh, I used all yours, huh?
well, yeah, you got PE, and then I got one more.
All right. Well, this one's pretty simple, pretty easy.
I think we might have this one together.
Well, listen. This little ditty, this little number came out, and it is the first hip hop album. Well, the Maker is the first hip hop album ever made. Was the first one, and this is the follow up. So a long time ago,
in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. This guy from Bay Shore that lived on Farmers Boulevard made radio, and it took the world by storm. People listen to it. He does a whole bunch of things. He never makes a video. And then, wouldn't you know it, in 1987, it comes out a song called I'm Bad. And we didn't know, but it was an album coming. And this album, 87, changed hip-hop forever. Not because he just dropped the album. It's because of track 9. He made a song called I Need Love. Did that, everything changed. But I'm Bad. Top 5 hip hop song of time for me.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the album, the release. Most people only know Bad, but it's abbreviated for Bigger and Deffer.
Mm-hmm.
LL Cool J, the GOAT.
This guy. Man, listen. Okay, so we're gonna finish with 2. So you were right. So I don't have this one at it barely did not make my list.
I told you we were gonna have 2. I knew what I was doing.
This shit right here, man. Listen. It is hard to explain to people how big this guy was or this album was when it came out. When I say everybody had it, even if you couldn't afford the tape, because there were no CDs, kids. There were no downloads. You had to physically go get the copy. Man, LL. Okay, Drake. Right, for those of you listening who listen to Drake or understand how big Drake is, LL's popularity was bigger at that time in '87 than what Drake's popularity is now.
Let me help you out and put this in perspective
Go ahead.
for people that's listening. People that's listening. This year, Eric B. and Rakim dropped Paid in Full, their debut. Yo Bum vs. the Show, Public Enemy, we just talked about, that came out. Their debut. Criminal Minded by Boogie Down Productions came out, their debut. Rock the House by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince came out, their debut. And everyone still listens to Bigger and Deffer first and more. And everyone knows that album more than all of the ones I just named. That's how big that was. So, and as we talked earlier, that your debut album is the combination of everything you worked on. That was Rakim, KRS-One, Chuck D, Fresh Prince. That was their first. Yeah. He came with his second, which Sophomore Jinx, and blew those away.
Yeah,
with the second. So
this was so incredible, man. I just remember I was in.
You were a junior in college in '87, weren't you?
Stop it! I was in 8th grade. Man, listen, this right when it came out, everybody wanted to be LL, and I mean, I don't. You don't need me to tell you about the album cover. The album cover is iconic. He got the car restored. Oh, did he?
He got the car restored that he's standing on, and then they put it in the Hall of Fame when he got inducted.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, very well deserving of his Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, he's definitely if LL's not in the Hall of Fame, I mean, nobody else should have been in there. I could make a case that he should have gone in first. But yeah, he changed the game, and like you said, this album flipped up everything. And to put a song out like I Need Love, to have the bangers on there, I'm Bad, the video. I mean, we all mimicked the video. Man, it's so iconic, man.
If you don't squish out the jelly bean with your foot and then put it in your mouth and body roll, man. Please. Man, you don't put your hand up to your head with the shark's
fin. Yeah, my head is like a shark's fin. And everybody wanted Kangos. Everybody wanted Kangos in my school.
Also, I'm Bad. Everyone loves I'm Bad. Like I said, it's top 5 for me. As soon as that goes off, Candy comes on that beat. It's I can't. So yeah, that's my one.
Yeah, man, incredible album. Another one that you still got to play to this day. That coming from where he came from and having the success that he had, I guess it would have been easy if he would have fallen off. But this right here just really propelled LL to the next level, and he was already at that level already. he was, the best in the game at that particular time. And man, we love this album. We love this album. And like I said, it still bangs to this day. My top one, I wasn't sure if you were going to pick this one. Is It Was Written. Now, here's the interesting thing about It Was Written. While I think it is one of the best sophomore albums, it's not my favorite album from Nas. My favorite album from Nas is his first album, which is Illmatic, which is, a lot of people's favorite album. Throughout my travels on the Twitterverse, I've come in contact with a whole slew of generation of people who actually think that It Was Written is better than Illmatic. I don't think so, and I don't see how that's even humanly possible. But it's opinions. Everybody's entitled to them. But I think it's a great album. I'll be honest, and I think I don't know. I can't remember if I talked about it on the podcast or if we talked about it on your podcast. But I do remember there was some pushback from some of Nas's fans that wanted Illmatic 2. And
I was one of them.
So we probably did talk about it in your podcast. And you quickly realize after maybe track 2 or 3 that this wasn't Illmatic 2. Nas, it's commercial. It was. I think even to date, it's still his best-selling album. It got him on MTV, and I get it. I understand why. And I think it's a dope album. I just don't know how, particularly if you were around in 1994 and then, subsequently in 1996 for this album, I don't know how you could rate it over Illmatic. But again, it just depends on where you were in life, I guess. I don't know. But no, it's still a great album, man. It's an album that I still listen to. Again, it's not as revered for me, but I still think it's a dope album. I wasn't really sure, if it would make your list.
Well, the reason why it would have made my list, and the reason why I just didn't think that because of the criteria I put on myself from Illmatic to It Was Written, it wasn't a huge departure, in terms of quality. Gotcha. And that's the only reason.
Gotcha. No, that makes total sense. Yeah, so I think all of these that we mentioned, are great albums that you can still play and still get something from. And it was a time where, like I said earlier, if you didn't do well, in your first album, the pressure was on for you to knock it out the box for your second album. Case in point, the Fugees.
That was on my list.
Okay. Blunted on Reality was their first album.
And that was garbage.
I like vocab.
No, there's 3 songs on that is dope. That's it.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Oh my God, that's the truth. But yeah, that was another one that did make my list, but it was it's a great album. It's still a great album. It's one of the best albums from 1996. Some people will tell you it's one of the greatest albums in the 90s. I can't really go that far, but it is what it is. Were there any that didn't make your list that you would like, kind of give an honorable mention to?
Oh, of course. Unfinished Business by EPMD.
Come on, man.
There Is a Dark Side by Redman.
Come on, man.
By All Means Necessary by Boogie Down Productions.
Okay, stop. Full stop. Question. Why did that not? Because I knew that would make your list. Because it was just on the outside of my list.
Because, like I said, it wasn't a huge drop off in quality from Criminal Minded. It was just as dope, and some people, most people like it, more. So it wasn't Organics to Do You Want More. Okay. It was more Illmatic, and it was written. So that's why.
Okay. Fair enough.
Wanted Dead or Alive by Coogee Rapid Polo. Supreme Clientele. Again, it wasn't a big enough gap from Iron Man to Supreme Clientele. They're both ludicrous. So and the last one that I had was King of Rock, Run DMC.
Oh no, now you're talking. Yeah.
King of Rock, Run DMC versus Run DMC. King of Rock is crazy. It's just, you know.
I got who do I have on here? I got By All Means Necessary. That, like I said, that one just was on the outside of my list. An album I still love listening to this day. What else? I had Do You Want More as well. I know this one would make your list. Good Kid, Mad City. Good Kid, Mad City from Kendrick Lamar. Probably the only album I can think of in the 20s or in the aughts that I would even consider, putting in this category. But this one's close because for as much as I love, and I think now I will go back, I think Section 80 is a better album than Good Kid, Mad City. Barely. But for 2012, Good Kid, Mad City was out of here. And I think, Kendrick, that just kind of, this album propelled Kendrick on his, run. Late Registration. Even though I don't really, rock with dude like that anymore, I can't deny that album. That is an album that I used to bump all the time. Follow the Leader, Eric B. and Rakim, another joint from 88. He's the DJ, I'm the rapper, another joint from 88. And what was the other one? It was one more that I could, let me see if I got it on here. I didn't write that one down. Outkast and Infamous. Oh no, you said it. EPMD, Unfinished Business. So yeah, those all great sophomore albums, man. All great sophomore albums. Yeah, so that's it. Before we get out of here, E-Man, tell folks where they can catch you, where they can catch the podcast.
Listen, and if you want to hear some 80s nostalgia, 90s nostalgia, rambling and musings, check out the podcast, Eclectic Discussion Podcast. It's released when I release it, but the good thing about the show is all of the episodes are evergreen. So you're not missing out on anything. You don't need to listen to one to understand the next. And if you listen to the very first episode, it's not old. So it's all, that type of thing. And hip hop, if you're a fan of the beginnings of hip hop, if you want to learn about hip hop's origins, or if you want to see why things were dope, 70s, 80s, and 90s hip hop, Encyclopedia Hip Hop Podcast, available everywhere. And again, just like with the other one, all evergreen. You can get in, listen to album reviews, songs reviews, rankings, drafts, some everything. And check it out. Let me know what you think. Eclectic Podcast and what we got? Encyclopedia HH, I think. Those are the Twitter and Instagram handles. So go say what's up.
Oh, for sure, man. Y'all make sure y'all check that out. I mean, obviously, you've heard him talk on here about hip hop, so I would think that you would definitely want to get down with that. You've been listening long enough. You should know how to find this podcast. The 12 Kyle podcast is everywhere. Anywhere where you can get podcasts for free. Podcast drops every Thursday at midnight, and you got to subscribe because from time to time we will drop bonus episodes on Sundays at midnight. That's going to do it for us. So for me and my man Eclectic, I'm your boy 12 Kyle. This has been another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.